Hello everyone, welcome you back to Roche Farm and Garden, where we caught up with Raymond, Joyce out here today, and we want to speak with Raymond again about a lot of things going on this time of year with June, July. This time of year, hot weather is definitely here.
That is it. Hot, hot, hot. And, the humidity's up, and with that, you get the heat index and all on there. So, again, the one thing you want to do is make sure if you're working out in the yard, try to do it early in the morning or late in the evening. That way, try to get out of the sun during 10 to 2. The other thing is wear a hat, sunscreen if you're, need the sunscreen.
Yeah, most of us do, though.
That's
Even darker people do.
Darker.
But Raymond, we're out there and we want to make everything so beautiful around us because we're outside. And even though it's warmer, it's not too hot to plant, is it?
Well, you just have to be aware that if you do plant things, you're going to have to water them more.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to take a little time. I mean, we can plant year-round in Georgia, particularly, container-grown stuff.
Sure.
But with that, you need to make sure you water. Just like for us, when we're out working, we need to drink water, drink water, drink water. But there again, now with plants, they do need watering. If you were to say, if we were to plant a plant today.
Let's say this one. People love to plant these along a fence. People love to plant these. What is this, by the way?
This is a mandevilla. With it, and with that, it's also got some vinca underneath. This is an old kind of a planter that they have put together here.
Yeah.
And you have, this plant is a seasonal plant, meaning that it's going to be from spring to summer, early fall, and then you can try to treat it for a perennial to keep it going, year after year, but you have to get some protection for it. But this is a great way. They've got a soil mix, got this, and the color is the biggest thing that a lot of people like to see this time of year.
Yeah.
And these plants
put it on a mailbox, or they'll put it on a fence row, something like that.
Right.
A good accent
Right.
plant.
You'll see it, around pool, that way. It'll go in for, like you said, post mailboxes and things like that.
Sure.
The other, an arbor, those type things like that. And
grows
then
that well, huh? Just
runs.
runs.
Right. And you can kind of take these runners and just kind of weave them in and out of the arbor that way.
Yeah. All right, now let's go ahead and think ahead, because people like them and they plant them for the color, but most people want stuff to come back.
Right.
So what do? You mulch over it to keep
Right.
it?
Yeah. What you do is you can either do two things. One, you can dig it up and put it in a container and bring it inside with you, try to keep it in a garage or a greenhouse, somewhere like that.
Sure.
The other option is that when it does die down from the cold, take and mulch it, 2 or 3, 4 inches of mulch on top of it, and keep it there, and hopefully the root system won't freeze. That's going to be the issue there. But if it does, you can always come back and get another one next season.
Now if you container plant it, you got to have something twice the size of the root system.
Right.
3 times?
Yeah. If you're digging it putting it in the ground, you want to dig the hole 2 times as wide and just the same depth of the planter as the original container was. In a container like this, again, you're going to be using potting soil. Some type of good potting soil that you can use in, particularly if you're putting it in planters around the house. Always use potting soil, never use the native soil out in the yard. Go out there and dig it out.
Okay, good advice.
But if you're putting it in the ground, itself at the mailbox or whatever like that, you can use the native soil and there's not an issue there.
Okay, and especially right now with the heat here, everyone, wouldn't it make sense if you want to add some color, maybe to do some containers, come down and get some of these beautiful containers, or use what you have there at home, get you some nice plants like this. That way you can water them.
That's right. Smart thinking, yes.
Yeah, now at the bottom, would you put rocks in there? What do you do for drainage on stuff
Well,
like
drainage,
that?
you just need to make sure with the container that it's got holes in it. If it doesn't, a lot of the plastic ones will come with pop-out holes in them, and you just drill those holes out. And you can put an inch or 2 of layer of rock in the bottom if you want to. Well, not really, as long as you, it will help. And again, it can. Some people do it, some people don't. It's not a necessary thing.
Okay.
As long as you've got your container where it can drain that water out the bottom, they're pretty good. Then that's going to work there.
Okay. All right. So we got a few container ideas now. Let's move on through and look at some other plants that are safe and hardy for hot weather this time of year, and talk about the watering cycle of those. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we made it over to what I'd call a cypresses.
Well, you've actually got, this is a Leland or Leyland cypress for that, and then this is actually an arborvitae, evergreen giant, that's right there in front of you there. These are excellent plants for screening. A lot of the Leyland cypress has been around for years, but we've seen some issues with them from disease, a couple of diseases that they get. And so one of the alternatives is the arborvitae, the green giant. Thuja is another name you'll hear around, just throw out big names here.
Sure.
But the green giant is one that you'll see that is a replacement kind of for the leyland, although the leyland is still good, still healthy.
What's the matter with it? Why do you see those little pods on it and the dark spots that'll grow, and what do you do about it?
Well, you see a lot of times with these, you'll get some branches dying back on them, or
Right.
that needle drop and all. That's just two diseases. One is called ceridium canker, and one is called botsypheria canker or bot canker. And we see that a lot of times in where they're planted too close together. There's not enough air movement in there. And the one thing about them is that they are fast growing. They will grow fast. I mean, they can grow up to 2 or 3 feet a year, you know, very easily if you want a nice screen or a specimen. But you need to give it a little room. You need to care for it.
Okay, on this one, that's a fatter tree, it looks to me like, than this one.
Well, this is we're comparing a 3-gallon to a 1-gallon, and
Oh,
this 1 gallon really needs to be, that 1-gallon pot really needs to be potted up
in the ground.
In the ground. It needs to go in the ground with that, and it will get spread out.
Okay, all right, but with this, now, you know, everybody wants immediate privacy, so a lot of times people will plant them kind of close together.
Right.
Optimum is what, 5, 7, 10 feet apart?
Well, ideally what you can do is if you've got enough spaces to do what we call staggered rows, and put them about 8 feet apart, and you put one row, plant it, and then you come in between about 8 feet afar, or 10 feet, more the better. And then you put them staggered, you know, so that you can get that immediate effect.
Yeah.
8
or 10 feet apart.
8 or 10 feet apart is
Okay.
ideal from that. And the same way would be with the arborvitaes, with green giant. They're the same thing. Give them some space, because these plants can get quite large. They can get 30, 40 feet tall in the same spread. So again, it's important to give them some room for that. But if people are looking for a good screening plant, this is a good or dividing plant between, you know, or shade or something. Not shade, I shouldn't say shade, because they really don't give shade. But they do give you some privacy, as you mentioned earlier.
Right. And a good backdrop for maybe some flowers in front of them, the knockout roses, things like that. We're going to talk about those in just a moment, so stay tuned. Okay, everyone, we're over at the knockout roses. Now, we talked about a good back hedge with the cypress and the other giant.
Right, the evergreen giant, and then the thuja, which is the same thing, and then the leyland cypress with that. And again, those make a great backdrop to it. And again, in landscaping, you always want to think of a stair step coming down just like a set of steps.
Right.
So you want your tall in the back, medium, and then something low in the front. And again, the knockout roses would be something that you could use in front of those leyland cypress or anything evergreen like that to give you that color. These are very popular, and again, the reason being is that they do have some tolerance to leaf spot and black spot and things, powdery mildew, so they kind of have some resistance to that. Again, you want to allow enough space between them to get some air movement in there, particularly to cut down on diseases. But with this, the knockout roses, there's also some other type roses out there, carpet roses, others that you have. And then we have the old-fashioned, you know, or common tea roses and all like that, which require a lot more care. But the beauty of these knockout roses is that you don't have to have a lot of care for them. They tolerate pruning very easily. They also self-prune, meaning that when they finish a bloom, that bloom will fall off and a new one will come on.
So you don't have to trim them back?
No, you don't have to do any really pruning unless they get real leggy. Then you can prune them during the summertime and do that.
It doesn't hurt to cut them during the summer?
No, you can cut them during the summer to shape them up to keep the height down. They will go through kind of a rest period in their blooming. They'll bloom real heavily, and then they'll kind of go through a kind of a rest period, and then they'll start right back up again. But again, fertilizing will help. 10-10-10 fertilizer, rose fertilizer will help. The other is, again, full sun location, just like we're in today. The other is making sure that in February, you come in mid-February around Valentine's Day and cut them down low, about 12 inches, and they'll really come back out and flush out for the season. But you can prune them all the way through August, early September.
All right, good to know. All right, we talked about planting them now. If we're going to plant them along a hedge, a row, a privacy row, what have you, what's optimum on the distance?
The distance between these probably are about 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet. Again, you can get them real too close in there where they don't get a lot of air movement, but just kind of space them them out. Now, again, just like here in front of Roche's, they have knockout roses planted.
Sure.
They are planted closer together for more of a mass effect.
Sure.
If you want that, you can move them closer, but I wouldn't go any closer than, say, 3 or 4 feet. Better be about 5 feet or so apart.
Okay, knockout roses, they're a great addition to your yard.
Right, and they'll tolerate the heat of the summer very well.